So I'm going to share a lot of what I learned about team coaching based on these associations. So what's very interesting is ICF came up with their own competency model for team coaching that I want to share with you. That was the topic for today. Well, what I want to introduce to is I have been doing research, and I also started comparing the team coaching competency model from ICF, from the team competency model from EMCC. And by the way, EMCC is always one step forward than ICF. You know, like Europeans are always ahead. Americans, we are behind, even though people don't like to recognize that, but I do believe that is the case. Like you can see that in supervision, and you can see that in team coaching too, because EMCC has this team coaching credential for a couple of years already. You know, and ICF now is catching up. And so there are two associations in Europe that are big. One is the European Mentor and Coaching Council, and the other one is the Association for Coaching, AC. And I want you to start getting familiarized with them because they have a lot of interesting journals, conferences, events. So you want to know what is available in the market to get access to the things. So for example, EMCC had a conference a few weeks ago, and I presented at the conference on team coaching. So this is what I was going to present today. And it's good that you start paying attention to what they are doing and how they are doing it and learn when there are opportunities. I'm going to be doing a revision of that conference, what happened in that conference for the Asian Supervisors Network. And Sophie, that's something that you may be interested in participating. The Asian Supervisors Network is always the last Wednesday of the month. It's at probably 10 o'clock Singapore time, and we're going to be talking about the EMCC conference and what we learned about what happened in that conference, about supervision and other things. So it's interesting that team coaching, and we have here Carla who joined us. Carla, welcome. And team coaching, ICF wanted to differentiate it from other modalities. So first, they had to come up with a definition, and the definition of team coaching for ICF is similar to the definition of coaching. So if you know the ICF definition of coaching, adapt it to teams. So the idea is that team coaching is about working with a team as a unity. So ICF sees the team as a unity, as an entity that is the client. So working with the team as an entity, as a unity, to inspire in a creative process, to inspire team effectiveness. So at the end of the day, the job of the coach in a team is to create opportunities and a space for people as a team to be more effective. That's the definition of ICF of team coaching. So the role and the job of the team coach is to meet the team, like in individual coaching, contracting is about assessing the team instead of the individual, the team. Now, what do you think will be different between contracting and assessing a team versus contracting and assessing one person? What do you think will be some differences? Yes, Annie?
With one-on-one contracting, there are only two individuals, whereas with the team, you have to come into alignment and agreement with a number of different people.
Exactly. And it's complicated. And it's complex. Why? Because everyone is coming from a different place. We know that it takes us some time to know our client, how ready they are for coaching and for them to open up. Well, imagine that when you're working with a team and everybody's at a different place about how willing and eager and ready are to collaborate and work together as a team. And there is another variable. What is another key variable difference in teams that in individual when you have to contract and work in assessments? What do you think?
Will you repeat the question? I was copying the definition from the web.
Okay. So the question is, what do you think is the difference, other differences in contracting between a team and a person?
You probably have to have a sort of a terms of engagement or some sort of set of expectations for the entire team as part of the contract, not just, it's the gestalt. The sum is more than the parts of the whole.
Yeah. So you need to pay attention to the relationship between the members.
Right.
So it's not only about you creating a relationship one-on-one that you create in one-on-one coaching, but you need to pay attention to how you create a relationship with each person, plus paying attention to the relationship between the people, plus paying attention to the relationship with the leader. That's one of the key differences in contracting with teams, is what is the role of the leader and how the leader is involved. Is the leader the one who is calling you to work with his or her team? Or is somebody from human resources? Or is the boss of the leader calling you? Because what happens if the leader is not as engaged and involved in the process? Can you see that, how things can get complicated? So these are all key elements that make this job very interesting. Now, there's another key element that is many times, because of the complexity of working with teams, if the teams have more than 5, 6 people, and most of the time, average teams are around 10 people, like the team that they may be working with a coach. It's important to work with a co-coach, because 4 ears and eyes can get more than just 2. So then you need to add the complexity of working with a co-coach. Many team coaches work only with co-coaches. They never work alone. They always work with somebody because of that. So that has benefits because you can go deeper, but also bring some dynamics between the 2 co-coaches and between the relationship between the 2 coaches with all of the participants. So it's like we need to pay attention to all of these different variables. So contracting is even more, contracting, as we know, is important in coaching, but in team coaching is even more important because of the amount of different relationships, things that we need to pay attention to. So something that is convenient and appropriate is to interview and to meet each person in the team, to get to know each person of the team. So we build a relationship, the coach builds a relationship with each person one-on-one before they start working together. So that's a way to develop trust. So these are some of the key elements. Now, there are many tests and many surveys that you can use. We use in working with a team at work is a book from Clutterbuck that we use in the team coaching certification that I highly recommend you get that book, Working with the Team at Work. And he has a model called Peril with 5 different elements that you look when you're working with a team. And what is interesting is there are many different models that look at to understand how teams work, how to assess team performance, so that the coach can focus the energy in some areas. But what is interesting is most of these models have some commonalities. So what do you think when you're looking at the team and the thing that you want to look at to see if the team is performing? What do you think will be 4 or 5 variables that you want to look at in a team that you think, okay, for me to know that this team is performing, what are the things you will look at?
Level of productivity.
Productivity and results can be one. Now, if we say productivity and results is the results of the team working effectively, what will be the element that will make the work to be effective to get these results and to be a high performance team? What do you think?
A high level of collaboration and partnership.
Collaboration, people collaborating and supporting each other, that will be a key element. How people collaborate and support each other, that will be one. What else?
The type of conversations that they all are having or not having.
Okay, so that will be what they are, what in terms of the conversations, what they are able to articulate, how they are able to communicate or not to communicate. So that can be in the context of communication, effective communication, where people not only collaborate, but also speak about their needs, speak about their perspectives, and they feel that they can trust other people to do that. So a
Right,
space of trust where people can have the conversations.
right, like the psychological safety.
Psychological safety. Okay, so this is a really important distinction.
Mhm.
Now, safety and trust is important in one-on-one, but in groups is even more important. Again, why? Because of this, everybody's at a different place. So if people don't feel safe to share what is in their mind because they're afraid of being judged, they may be quiet or they may not participate. And psychological safety is an interesting distinction. I believe that we cannot give for granted, we need to create that. And I do believe that many times the leaders of the team are in charge of that, in creating that safety. But when the leaders are not doing that, then the team coach finds him or herself in a challenge in how to create that if that's not there. And many times you cannot do a lot of work if you don't build that trust with people in each other. So they may be willing to be vulnerable and take some risk and share what they are thinking without fear of being judged or without fear that will be a negative consequence. So we need to invest time in evaluating, assessing how is trust in this team and what is in their way and how that can be cultivated. Now, there are some coaches that believe that if there is no trust and the leader is not working on that for different reasons, it may not be a good intervention for the coach to enter into working with a team. This is controversial, okay? It's controversial. But we may say that maybe some teams may not be prepared to work with a team coach because the team is not, the conditions are not ready for that to happen. Sunny?
But doesn't some of this depend on the growth or stages that the team is at, where you make that intervention? Because sometimes they are very well gelled and sometimes they go through different phases to get to a point where they can begin to work with each other.
Great point. And there are two distinctions here to make. One is the evolution of the team. Where is the team and what the team needs? And what the team may need at different things, at different places, at different times. And sometimes team coaching is not the best approach. So sometimes the team may need some training. They may need to learn some distinctions or learn some concepts or learn about what makes a team effective. So sometimes training is first necessary before team coaching.
Right.
Sometimes team building. Now, team building is different than team coaching. Team building is more about developing the relationship between the participants for people to get to know each other better and collaborate by understanding each other better and getting to know each other better. So sometimes team coaching may include team building, but ICF like to differentiate it. That, like to say, okay, these are different activities. You may be coaching, you may be teaching and training, you may be facilitating. That's okay, there is nothing wrong with that. Just let's be sure what we are doing. In facilitating, we're just been allowing everybody to be sure that everybody participates, that people follow ground rules, that people listen to each other, that they move forward. And in team building, we'll be, okay, what do we need to make it happen here so people get to understand and know each other better? So many times there are many exercises about team building so people get to know each other and can learn from the experience. And in team coaching, it's more about, can be two possibilities, that there is a conversation where we have discuss what is working and not working for the team, what are the challenges the team may be having about performing, or what is working well, and leveraging what is working well for future challenges. That may be different than just doing exercises for team building, just to create more cohesion between participants, though that can be all part of the same intervention. Like the team coach may also do team building, facilitation, teaching, training, can do different things based on the needs of the team. So going back to what make a team to be successful and to perform, we talk about collaboration, we talk about trust. What else is necessary? Psychological safety. What else is necessary? For a team to be, we're talking about successful teams. So for a team to be successful and getting results, what needs to be present?
I would say a certain cohesiveness,
Mm-hmm.
that they, team that's been disrupted many times with people coming in and out, that's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, so that cohesiveness is that part of the collaboration and people building relationships with each other. What else?
I would say like a common vision.
Yeah, that's very important, that there is a common vision or goal. So there is clarity about why they're there together, and it's clarity what they need to, what is their vision and their goals. And that sometimes is not there. Many times you get a team together and say, okay, what is your mission as a team? And people cannot articulate it. So that will be the foundation of team effectiveness, having clarity about where they're going. Then building processes and systems in place to get there. Then getting the collaboration and participation from people. Then getting the empowerment, feeling that the people have the authority to participate and do whatever needs to be done. And also capabilities. People need to have skills, because they can have great intentions, but if they don't have the skills to do the job, they may not happen. So can you see all of these elements as elements of effective teamwork? So as coaches, we want to assess and we want to see, okay, what is going on? So one way to remember, and if you look at different models, like Peter Hawking have the 5 disciplines, Clutterback has a program, a model called Peril. They have also 5 elements. I like to work with a model, it's called the house model, with 6 elements. And there are many more available. We have Lencioni, the 5 dysfunctions of the team, with 5 key elements. So there are many different models in the market, but at the end of the day, we can know that there are some things in common. They have in common the why the team is there. And they are effective in being able to articulate the why. They have a good what. It's clear what they are doing to accomplish that. So what is the why? What is what they are doing to accomplish that why? Then the how they are doing what they are doing. Now, if we think from a systemic perspective, the definition of Peter Hawking, for example, I'm thinking about systemic team coaching, is that a coach work with the team to support the team to provide value to the stakeholders. So a key element in thinking about teams are the stakeholders, not only the stakeholders who are inside the team, but the stakeholders who are outside the team. And how is the team affecting the stakeholders? So we have a systemic perspective, and we are looking at not only how the team is clear about the why, the what, and the how, but also pay attention to how it's relating to other stakeholders that receive services from the team. So what is the relationship between the team and all of the stakeholders in the picture? That's another key element to pay attention to. Any questions, comments so far?
A couple of questions. One, these engagements must be long because that takes time to do all these things in terms of coaching, facilitating, teaching, training, team building. Yeah, and so you find yourself doing and playing all those roles. And does it also, team coaching, does it also require you to be meeting with individuals one-on-one?
Well, it doesn't require, and sometimes it's not even recommended to be meeting one-on-one, only at the beginning to build a relationship and to be able to get to know and assess really what's going on. It's a good way. And sometimes you may not have time to do it. So sometimes you may just need to have a survey. Like this is what I do a lot. I ask all of the members of the team to share What do they see the strength of the team? What do you think that area to be better, to improve, and what suggestions they have? So that's another way. And sometimes there are some assessment tools that you can use, some of these models. So you can collect the data and work with that too, if you don't have the time and the resources. That's a possibility.
Right. And then the coaching agreement, is that something, I know you talked about there has to be a coaching agreement with the leader who may not be there, but then I would think there would have to be like a very good understanding and ownership of what that coaching agreement is about to begin the engagement with the team.
Yeah, so you need to spend time. You need to spend time discussing that and clarifying what is team coaching, because many people may never have worked with a coach, so they don't even know what is team coaching. They may have the reference of sports, so they may think, oh, it will be like a sport, something like that. But other than that, they may not have a reference of what you're going to be doing. So let me share with you, I'm going to share with you a document from ICF that is about the competencies. So you all get to hear about what are the competencies, what is a team coach need to demonstrate. That's the topic for today. And to do that, so I'm going to share the document. Okay, can you see the document from ICF? Okay, so I'm going just to go over this really briefly for you to get a sense. You all know the 8 core competencies. You know, everybody here has worked with me at some point, and Sophie, you're in MCC, so you know this. Demonstrate ethical practice. And here it's interesting that the coach treats the team client as a single entity. Okay, so that's something to pay attention to. Then, like we know in individual coaching, the coach can differentiate between coaching, consulting, training, mentoring. Here, the same thing. The team coach is able to distinguish between team coaching, team building, team training, team consulting, team mentoring, team facilitation. All of them under one umbrella. And the umbrella that ICF is using is called team development. Also, showing ethical practice includes knowing what blend you need to use, how you're going to mix these activities. And finally, maintaining trust, transparency, and clarity with fulfilling these roles related to team coaching, having these ethical behaviors. In terms of embodying a coaching mindset, the team coach engaged in coaching supervision. Interesting, this is very direct. In the individual coaching competencies, talk about reflective practice as supervision. But here is very, very specific. Engage in coaching supervision. So it's expected that the team coach, because of the complexity of the work, will work with the supervisor. And remains objective and aware of team dynamics and patterns. Now, competency number 3, that is about maintaining agreement we were talking before, needs to explain what is team coaching and what is not, how it's different from other modalities. And here, again, you see the relationship between establishing and maintaining agreements and ethical practices. They go hand in hand again. Partner with all relevant parties, including the team leader, team members, stakeholders, and any coaches that are going to be involved and engaged. So there is clarity in the coaching relationship, in the processes, in the plans, in the modality, in the goals. So there is time spent on this. And finally, partner with the team leader. So this is an important, because it's a different variable working with teams. You need to partner with the whole team, but also with the team leader in terms of how you're going to be facilitating. If at some point the team leader will be facilitating and you will be an observer, how you're going to share the facilitation with the team leader. So there is an extra conversation here in contracting with the team leader. Competency number 4 is about cultivating trust and safety. We have been talking about psychological safety, how you create a safe space for people to interact, how you promote the team seeing each other as a common single entity, fostering that everybody participate and express their feelings, perception, concerns. The idea that everybody participates. This is one of the characteristics of facilitation too, being sure everybody is engaged and involved. And also partnering with the team to develop and maintain team rules and norms. Like I was working with a team, and this team never ever spent time looking at ground rules to work as a team. So you also want to promote effective communication and partner with the team when there is internal conflict. So this is one of the big differences too between individual and teams, that it may be conflict and how comfortable do you feel navigating conflict. In terms of maintaining presence, using all of yourself as instrument, ensure that you use your body, your emotions, your thoughts to bring this to conversation. Working with a co-coach, we're talking at the beginning, working with a co-coach to make this process more comprehensive. Encouraging team members to pause and reflect, embracing silence. And also knowing when to intervene and when to be quiet. That's one of the key elements of team coaching, is knowing, okay, when is my time to say something and when is my time just to observe. Listen actively. This is interesting because we are listening what is said and not said, what Carla was talking before in terms of the conversation. Also what's happening in the dialogue. We want to notice how what people are saying is impacting people's energy, engagement, and focus. Noticing the verbal and non-verbals. Models effective communication and collaboration when working with a co-coach. And encouraging the team on their own dialogue. So you don't want people to talk to you, you want people to talk to each other. So many times, if you are as a team coach working with a team and people are working, talking just to you, you may tell the person, okay, talk to the team, not just to me. Evoke awareness. At the end of the day, we want to create insight, learning, so the team can be more effective by creating this awareness. So we want to challenge teams' assumptions, behaviors to enhance their awareness. And we want to use questions and other techniques to foster team development. And finally, in terms of facilitating clients' growth and team growth, we want to encourage dialogue and reflection to help the team identify their goals and to achieve them. Okay, any questions? So these are the competencies, as you can see how they go from individual to team. Any questions or comments?
Damian, I have a question about
Yes.
the group numbers. So for what is the optimal number in a group for to be in a team coaching?
That's a great question. There is a book that talks about that. Here, I have it here because I was working with that. The Wisdom of Team. Have you heard about this book? This
Yes,
book
I have.
is a little bit old, it's not, but I have been using it for years and I love this book, The Wisdom of Teams. And basically what it says is that the number of the participants in the team will make a big impact on results. So if the team is too big, it's going to be difficult to coordinate actions and to make people cohesive. So he suggested number 7 is a good number. Anything between 5 and 10, and 7 will be in the middle. I think I agree with this. Like when I was in the global board of directors of International Coach Federation, we were in the board of directors 16 people. So when I started, I was so intimidated. I never participated much. I felt like too much. And I ended up being the president. But at the beginning, I was pretty quiet in the board of directors, trying to build trust. And then we decided to go from 16 to 8, cut it in half. And we ended up being 7, because was 7, the 8th person was the executive director, Magnamuk. And so we went from 16 to 8, where 1 with the executive director as part of the board, and 7 board members. Very different experience. I think much more effective.
Damian, is there a difference between team coaching and group coaching, where you're coaching a group of people, but they might not be on a team?
Exactly. Well, it's a big difference, because like a group coaching or team coaching have different goals. In group coaching, people come and everyone has his or her own goals, his or her own issues to discuss and explore. So your job as a group coach is to coach each participant and engage everybody else in supporting you in coaching that person, where everybody is learning from everyone. but at the end of the day, they don't have a common result. Teams need to collaborate to have a common result. Now, what is tricky is that sometimes there are some teams that clear result is not so clear. For example, I am working in an organization and there is a team of in the education department. So there is a department of education and there are different people in this team. There are like 8 people. And each one has a different job and a different role. They are coordinating different activities. And each team, each person has a team under them and have some goals to accomplish. Now, them don't have necessarily one result to accomplish together, other than supporting each other so their teams can be more effective. Is that a team or not?
That will be a group coaching.
Yeah. That will be tricky because this is they are colleagues, they are part of a group, they call themselves the education team, but they don't have as a team one goal other than that the whole, the perspective where we can call it a team is we can say that we are going to measure this team by the result of the whole organization. But that is very rare. You don't see that very commonly. Most of the time, what is measured are the success and the effect of teams that have a specific result that can be measured. So for example, in this organization, they had to provide this training, education department, they had to provide 16 workshops with at least 10 people each. Have they been able to do that or not? If they have been able to do that, they demonstrated they accomplish the goal. If they have not been able to do that, they don't. But how do you make the whole team accountable when they are maybe not be accountable? So that is when sometimes leaders need to be creative in finding ways where everybody is supporting each other to accomplish their goals by finding some ways to measure everybody together. Can you see the difference here? But if that is not in place, then it's not really a team. We're a team, we want the whole organization to be effective. Now, we can say as an organization that everybody has to do their part. So by the end of the year, we're going to serve, let's say, nonprofits. So it's not only productivity, not only money that we are measuring. Let's say that it's a nonprofit and we're measuring impact in the community. So we may say as an organization, we want to offer in this community advocacy for the community, and we're going to be doing all of these activities. And by the end of the year, you measure everybody in the organization on these measures. So everybody is responsible to some extent of that. Now, the board of directors of ICF, when I was part of the board, we have a strategic plan. So we had to develop a strategic plan and we were responsible for that plan. So even though we were not able to implement that, we came with a vision and we in some way evaluate the executive director based on this measurement that we came up together. So as a team, we collaborate to be sure that the whole organization move forward. So sometimes the results can be abstract, can be not so easy to pinpoint. Now what I'm going to do is share in the chat room the document so you can have access and you can look at that when you have some time. And I'm going to also share with you what I was planning to do today was to spend more time in the different competency models. But I'm going to share with them there in the chat room. You see, let's see if you can, for mistake, let me be sure that everyone get it. I think I sent it only to Sophie that I was talking to her before. Now, interestingly, the Association for Coaching and EMCC developed a competency model And also different level, like we have ACC, PCC, and MCC. They have like beginner, intermediate, and advanced team coach. And the competencies that they need to show are different. So this is a really interesting distinction. So here in the chat room, I put the documents so you can look at them later and see what is the competency framework for ICF, AC, and MCC. So you have the 3 documents there, if you're curious about that.
Do they put a number of people in the team coaching?
They don't have a number, specific number.
Right.
No. I think they may have a maximum number of participants. Like I know, for example, from group coaching, ICF has a maximum number of people that can be in a group. I think it's 12, if I am not wrong.
Yeah.
So you cannot have more than 12 people in a group coaching session to consider group coaching. But so far, they don't have a specific number for team coaching. So I share with you the documents. So you can later, can you download them, everybody? If you want to download them later, and you can save them and spend some time. You're curious to see the differences. This was what I was going to do today, to spend time comparing these documents. But I changed gears since you were not familiar with the ICF one. So let's see. Let's see what questions do you have. Any questions? Sunny.
Hi, I'm sorry. I have one question, Damian.
Yes.
What happens when you're working with a team and one team member or the leader gets out of the organization? Because since the team is seen as a unit, as a whole unit, the unit changes. So what happens in that scenarios?
Great question. And sometimes you need to revise the contract. Sometimes you need to go back. You have then to step forward and you need to step backwards, like in terms of, okay, we have a new leader or a new participant. Every time that the team changes, you need to go back to clarify agreement, contracting. So that's a good point. And sometimes maybe if the leader leaves, maybe you may, human resources may call you and say, okay, we don't need your services any longer. Okay, so, there may be variables that may not be under our control. So that's a great question. Sunny?
I just wanted to get clarification when you were talking about ICF and the 3 levels. So are you saying that in terms of team coaching, ICF is now certifying at different levels depending? No, explain that a little bit more for me.
Yeah, ICF is not doing that. ICF for now. ICF has a competency model that you will see in the document I sent you. Is what I shared with you today. Mm-hmm. That is from this document. So you have in that document also a section where I compare the individual and the team coach competencies. So you can see one by one what are the similarities and differences between individual and team coaching. And there are 8 competencies, and that's it. For EMCC and AC, you will see the competency model that they have 4 different levels. So you can apply as a team coach, as a beginner, intermediate, or a master team coach. Oh. So that's very interesting. So you can see that in the...
Because ICF is not doing that.
Not yet.
Okay, not yet.
So who knows, that may change. But look at that, it's interesting. It's very interesting stuff.
Because team coaching was my first certification, and the experience my first time was with a pharmaceutical sales team. Mm-hmm. So the head of the team became the co-coach, and we coached him one-on-one before we had a seminar for like 2.5 days for the whole team to establish the norms and all of that kind of thing. And then the team met for 19 times after that. And they met themselves. I mean, we were there to support, but a lot of it was all on the team in terms of its forming, norming, storming, developing. All the members had different responsibilities, but they all had the same goal and the outcomes. But it was very interesting because it constantly got reinforced, and the leader then became much more adept at coaching individually the people on the team, because we were coaching him, so it kind of was like supervision, but not, he wasn't a coach, but it's interesting.
That's a good model. That's a good model, including the leader as a team, as a co-coach with a
Yes.
coach. That's works really well. If the person is have the skills to do it and is ready and is willing, and can be a really great model. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so to wrap up the session today with these competencies is that you have an idea of the framework. As I was saying at the beginning of the program, we had the team coaching certification. If anybody is interested later to go further, it's a requirement to be a coach, certified coach, to be able to participate. And in the program, we have 8 sessions, 1 session for each competency. And we have also guest speakers, quite experts on the different topics to cover. So I do part of the program, but half of the program is presented by different very experienced team coaches, bringing cases. And then everybody also has to work with a team as a coach to experience and practice what we cover in the program. So if you're interested about that, let me know later and I can send you the information. So any last questions before we finish? No? So thank you for coming. I hope that you learned something new today with this model and this information, and I am a resource for you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And my goal is to have these sessions every 2 months to bring all of the graduates from cohort 1 and the people from cohort 2 that now we just started the team coaching certification. So as we have 1 space for supervisors that some of you have been coming. I also wanted to create 1 space for the team coaches. So that's the goal. Maybe next time I will bring a more interesting topic. That will bring
A good foundation for us.
Yeah, but that was, I think, a good foundation for everyone. So thank you for coming and supporting me too, because I know that all of you do that. So thank you for that. So we'll see you soon. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the 4th of July and relax and rest. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Everyone. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye, Carla. Lucy. Good to
Bye.
hear.